Hey guys, it's Ted Bogert. Welcome back to the TED Show. I'm excited to have this incredible entrepreneur on the show. He's funny, he's an author, he's also a realtor, and he has just made a big shift in his organization, which I always find fascinating. I think it's very important for you all out there to always look at your options. Really great guy, and I'm excited to have him on. Welcome, Walter Key. Walt Key, how you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Can we just take a moment here and highlight the fact that you said Realtor? And I love you for that right from the get-go, because so many people out there, I still have to try to. That's 40% of my entire coaching program is teaching agents how to say their own title.
It's so funny. Thank you for that. It's so funny because once you're corrected once, I am sure I did not come out of the womb saying Realtor. I'm sure I said Realtor or Realtor. Yeah. But it's so funny when you listen to a realtor say it incorrectly. It just cracks me up. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yes, I'm glad you did it right.
Realtor, 2 syllables. Realtor. Yep. So Walt, I told you before we went live that the audience loves to know a little background on your profile on Facebook. You've got a lot of things. You've got author, but you've also got realtor. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about you, a little bit about Walt Key.
Oh man. So the punchline is I'm just a schmuck in a Hawaiian shirt that likes to help people. That's it. We're done. Wrap it up. I found early on in my life that I love serving other people. And I don't mean that to be like cheesy or cliche. Like my entire adult life from 18 to now has all been service. I spent 21 years in the Navy. I got into real estate so that I could continue to serve people when I retired from the Navy. Being successful in real estate led me down a path to realize a lot of agents need help. And so that allowed me to start coaching in order to serve agents in a different way. And so it was just this evolution, I guess, of serving in the Navy, serving in real estate, realizing there was a different way to serve in the real estate space. And then I just started coaching agents. We wrote the book. There's a second book coming out this year, actually, but we wrote our first book. Me and my coaching partner, Ray, we were like, this industry sucks. There's an 87% failure rate. That's mind-boggling.
Yes.
Why? And so we determined that there's only 2 reasons that agents fail. They have a knowledge gap and they have an execution gap.
Yes.
Almost always there's both. And it's easy to tell people, go out there and run your business, be the CEO of your company, go execute. But if they don't know what the heck they're doing, they're not going to execute. So we realized we have to fix the knowledge gap first. And that will empower most agents, not every, unfortunately, but most agents. Once you've given them the knowledge, the tools, the resources, they fix their own execution gap.
Yes.
And so that was the heart behind the first book is let's teach them everything they need to know to be successful and remove all of those knowledge gaps. Now they can go execute. So,
well, it's interesting because first of all, I love that. And I agree. I think that knowledge gap is just key. And what happens is they come out of the class and they're officially a real estate agent, then a realtor, and then they have no idea what they're doing. They actually, most of them don't even know how to read a contract.
Yeah.
So the classes, like most licensing classes, you learn to pass the test and then you get out in the real world and realize I have no idea what I'm doing. So then people they go with a brokerage, they go with a team, hoping and praying that they're going to get that knowledge that they need. And a lot of times that doesn't happen. So they're scrambling, which is what you see a lot in our industry, which I'll talk about, I'll ask you about in a little bit. Let me ask you, going back, first of all, thank you for your service. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And so tell me what that was like transitioning out, because I do an entire series for vets.
Yeah.
Heroes always welcome. So what was that like? Was it a difficult thing for you to figure out what you wanted to do? Talk a little bit about your transition.
It was interesting. So I actually knew early in my military career that I was going to do real estate when I retired. And here's how it happened. Like it just came together, right? So early on in my Navy career, young kid, I bought my first house with a VA loan, ugly as sin, because that's all I could afford. And over the course of that tour, that couple years that we lived there, I can't even take credit for it. My wife and her girlfriends, while I was out doing the Navy thing, they were dolling up the house, mowing the yard, painting the kitchen, replacing the carpet. They just made this house pretty over a 2-year period. And then we moved and we sold it for a $27,000 profit. And we went, we should do that again. And from then on, every time the Navy moved me, my goal was buy a new primary residence and either buy it knowing I could force enough equity over 2 to 3 years, called a live-in flip, to resell it, or buy it knowing I was going to rent it out to another military family and it would become a long-term rental. So I was buying investment property to live in for 20 years.
Wow.
I've actually never lived in the same house physically more than about 3 years, and I custom built that house from the ground up. But during that 4-year period, I had the address. I deployed to Iraq for 7 months at a time twice.
Wow.
So that's technically less than 3 years, right? And so I knew for a long time real estate was going to be my second career. But as you're moving around and you're traveling, you're going to different countries, it just didn't make sense.
Sure.
And so we transferred to Central Virginia, thinking that I was only 18 years into a 30-year career, and we fell in love with the Blue Ridge Mountains. And within a couple months of being there, we went, I think this is the spot. So I put in my retirement papers. That would have taken me up to about 21 years. And I had 3 years left at that command. But I said, okay, I'm not moving again. Going to get my real estate license. Going to get this thing started. That gave me a 3-year ramp up.
Yes.
To mentally, financially prepare to walk away from active duty Navy and make enough money in real estate, hopefully, to not feel the gap. Yeah. And here's what happens. It's super funny. In the first year I was licensed, the first full year I was licensed, I made more money than the Navy had paid me over the course of about the 20 years that I was in. Like 18 years, my salary after 18 years in the Navy, I made more in real estate the first year I was in real estate.
Wow.
And it just grew from there. So full-time active duty Navy, full-time real estate, became the number one agent in my office, number one agent across 4 offices in the region, top 3% of my entire MLS for closed transactions while holding down the Navy gig. And so when people say like, oh, I just don't have enough time, I immediately want to pop them in the mouth. I'm like, come on, you just don't know how to use your time. If I could do it, anybody could do it. And so it just happened that way. And then I just kind of woke up and I'm like, when can I retire? Because this is going great. And then oddly enough, my wife, who our whole marriage, 2+ decades, everywhere we were going, she's like, I don't care where the Navy sends us, just not Florida. I hate Florida. I was born and raised in Tampa. It's too hot. It's too humid. I don't like to sweat. I don't ever want to go back. Okay, I've never lived in the same house for more than 3 years. I don't care where we go. And so out of nowhere, she came home to Florida for a family funeral. Most of my family and most of her family lived in Florida while we were in Central Virginia. She came back for a family funeral, spent a week here, came back to Virginia and went, we need to talk. That was so great. Being around all the family, the kids got to meet their cousins. I think we should move to Florida. And I went, one more time? And so out of nowhere, we decided we're moving to Florida. And I packaged up my Virginia business, put a contract together, sold it to another agent for multi-6 figures because it was a great business that I had built and just the years that I was building it. Moved to Florida, started completely over.
Wow.
Changed brokerages, built other empires, just did different things. But it was really interesting how it all came together. So the transition actually was super easy because I knew for so long that I was going to do it that I just started early.
Yes.
And the ramp up actually happened far faster than I thought it would. So I gave myself 3 years to work up to a real estate business that would match my Navy income. And I blew through that in the first 12 months. And then I was like,
it's amazing.
When do I retire? That was great.
I think that's what the challenge is. Just my takeaway from what you said and from listening to other vets is begin a plan earlier.
Oh yeah.
At least begin thinking about and planning for, and if it involves taking classes, do what you have to do. What happens a lot of times though is that they transition out and they haven't done that. And
you're 100% right.
Corporate world is completely different than military world.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of difficulty in transitioning, but my takeaway is definitely plan, work on something, think about what you want to do during your time in. All right, let's talk about the Karbon Club. Sure. What is the Karbon Club?
So the Karbon Club, so it's a play on words, right? We spell it with a K. It's carbon is what diamonds are made out of when it's put under intense pressure. So it's kind of a play on words, right? Where our weekly meeting is the Diamond Miners meeting, right? The Karbon Club is a co-led organization of real estate agents. I was doing some stuff. Another wonderful gentleman, Robert Beam, was doing some stuff. Another phenomenal gentleman, Chris Raines, was doing some stuff. And we all kind of met together kind of in the coaching space. And we went, I love what you're doing. I love what you're doing. Well, we love what you're doing. We should build something where all of our agents collectively benefit from all three of our knowledge, tools, resources, experience. And so we built this co-led organization called the Karbon Club, originally under the EXP model. And we have built out our weekly meeting and our private Facebook messenger and our private Facebook group. And we do a postcard campaign on the holidays. We send happy birthday videos. We have a VA that builds social media content. So I always tell people, we're kind of like the team that everybody wishes they had. When they say the word real estate team, we're the team that they want. We just don't take any of their money because we're not a formal team. And it's just been a ton of fun. We have built this empire of just helping agents be successful.
It's such a unique proposition, I feel like, in this time. You see, and you just made a move, which we'll get to next, but I feel like agents are really looking for that support. Yes. They're looking for that camaraderie. They're looking for, hey, can I bounce an idea off of you? And because some of these mastermind groups are so ruthless. Yeah. It's a tough place to be if you really are an agent that has questions and wants to learn. And so to create that in the Karbon Club, I mean, kudos to you guys, because it's much needed. I guarantee you have tons of positive feedback and people are growing and learning from it.
Yeah, we have a very solid track record of success. So I'm a nerd by background. I'll be the first to admit, like, if somebody starts talking numbers with me, I'll break out a spreadsheet and I'll tabulate it. I'm that guy that will analyze a company's financial statements to determine if I want to individually invest my money in their stock. Like, I don't need a portfolio manager. I'll do it myself. So I'm all about the numbers. I know all the stats. I know all the data points. And so we were sitting around one day and we're talking about the 87% statistical failure rate. 80% of that failure happens in the first 2 years an agent's license. Yeah. They never renew their license. In the first 2 years, 80% are gone. And so I just thought about it. I was like, I feel like our agents are doing well. I want to run the numbers. And so I pulled up our organization and I analyzed every agent that had been with us for at least 90 days. And we have about an 80% success rate. Our agents are out there closing deals, making it happen for themselves.
It's amazing.
In a world with an 80% failure rate, we have created an environment with an 80+% success rate. I'm pretty proud about that. And it's not that we're geniuses. It's not that we're super amazing human beings. We just cared enough to say, what is this industry missing? Let's build it. Let's find it. Let's create it. Let's put it all under one roof so that all of the agents have it when they need it. Yes. And that's been a lot of fun.
I love the concept because I talk to a lot of realtors in what I do every day, and I'm amazed at their lack of direction that they get from their broker or their team leader. They feel like they're out in the wild, wild west, which sometimes they are, and they have no earthly idea what to do. I have many of them who have come to me and said, I don't know how you get on those mastermind groups, Ted. They're a whole bunch of angry, negative realtors, which is sad. So
it is sad.
So that leads me to the discussion about my question about you recently made a move. And I want to hear about that and I want them to hear about it because I have a lot of agents that ask me all the time, Ted, I'm not happy here. I don't know where to go. I feel like I'll just be trading one problem for another problem. Yeah. But there is a lot of unrest in the industry right now with all of the NAR stuff, and people are just really questioning where they are and where they want to be, and is it feeding their soul, feeding their pocketbook. So can you talk a little bit about what you recently did and your why behind it?
Yeah. So we recently took a 120 agent empire, which statistically is larger than 99.9% of any single brokerage office on the planet. And we moved it into an entirely new brokerage model. And that is not to say anything negative about our previous brokerage model. I liked them. I had tools and resources. I had nothing bad to say about anybody. But what I liked about that model and what I liked more about this model is it allowed us to build what we wanted to build in order to support the agents. It wasn't, well, you're at this brokerage, so you have to fall under our umbrella and do it our way. It was, here's a platform, build what you want within these parameters. So that was a lot of fun. what we found, and we weren't looking for it, to be perfectly honest with you, like one of our co-leaders brought it to our attention, and immediately we're like, nope, 120 agents, dude, we're not moving this. This is a behemoth. But then we got on calls with the leadership of the brokerage. And in a nutshell, what we found was a brokerage model that so perfectly aligned with what we were already doing. Our mission of how agents should be treated, our vision of how the industry should improve. They were tangibly executing things inside the brokerage that aligned with that. Wow. And so it made perfect sense. And then I just looked at the numbers because, again, I'm a nerd. And I said, okay, well, in every instance, my agents will make more money on their transactions every single time. And then I looked at the benefits and resources that this brokerage put together. Now, mind you, I don't say this lightly, but it's a fact. The resources and benefits that this brokerage model are doing for agents at no additional cost, it does not exist anywhere else on the planet. They have completely disrupted the way real estate happens, and it's a good thing. So I looked at the benefits, and I just walked down the list, and I said, well, how much does that cost me? And how much does that cost me? And how much does that cost me? And on average, our agents save thousands of dollars a month in business expenses that they would pay out of pocket for at any other brokerage. But the brokers work for the agents. And then they said, you don't need to do that. We're going to cover that for you. Wow. You don't need to pay for that. We're going to give it to you at no additional cost. You don't even need to do that. We're going to do that for you. And it collectively saves, not to mention the time, right? The time and the resources and the energy. It saves them tangible money that does not have to come out of their pocket. And so when we found that and their vision aligned with what we were doing, I couldn't unsee it. I had to make that move because it was better for every one of our agents. And it's interesting. So we had 120 when we made this move, actually just a couple weeks ago when we announced it. And we've added 20 more in the last 10 or 12 days because that value proposition is so tangible to the agents. It's amazing.
And that's a testament to the model and to you all. Why do you think people are feeling disrupted right now? Why do you think there's so much change in the air? And I'm not just it was before the NAR settlement.
Yeah, it was definitely
added to it. So what do you, when you're talking to agents, those 20, even the conversation you had with your agents making the shift, you're having the conversation, you're talking about moving. What are the things that they're excited about? What are the things that they're looking for in a brokerage that you hear?
At its core, every agent wants to make more money and save more money. Every smart business owner wants to make more money and find cost savings.
Yes.
Right? Everyone does. So when you think of things like, congratulations, you got a new listing, $300 for the photos, $150 for the yard sign, $400 for the transaction coordinator, maybe $100 if you're going to go market it, paid advertisement on social media. All of these things add up fast. And you're like, well, great, I got that listing and I haven't got paid yet, but now I got to shell out $1,200. Right. What if your broker actually worked for you and they did your listing photos? They installed your yard sign at no cost. They paid to market your listing on social media to drive traffic to your business. Yeah. They gave you the transaction coordinator at no cost. Now, not only did I just save you $1,200 on your transaction, but I just leveraged all your time back.
Yes, that's it.
That you can then go build your business with and scale it up. Yes. So it's a really easy conversation to have when you're in a market where interest rates have coming up. Everyone thinks they're coming down. The Fed has said, psych, we're going to wait a little longer. Yeah, they're going to come down, but not yet. Yeah. And then you have the NAR settlement. And there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of mainstream media throwing out some blatant falsities about how that works. There are some fundamental differences about how that will work. And so there's just a lot of uncertainty. And as human beings, this is not real estate specific. We fear the unknown until we've acquired enough knowledge to know it. That's human nature. That's just how it works. And so in an environment like this, where there's so much turmoil, there's so much uncertainty, what are the interest rates doing? What is the Fed going to do? What is NAR going to do? What does this mean to me? Do I have to never work with a buyer again or not get paid for this? All this stuff.
It's a lot of stuff, isn't it?
If we could just give people knowledge to be comfortable about their decisions and help them understand that regardless of what the market does, regardless of how it shifts, regardless of what the NAR settlement finally actually gets approved and flushes out to, put yourself in a position to be around the right people that are aligned with your vision, that want to help you grow, that are proactively working for you. And in doing so, will allow you to make more money and save more time to go make more money.
Yes.
And they go, well, yeah, there's actually no scenario where this doesn't make sense.
Right.
It's a no-brainer.
I think it's too good. People have been burned so many times that
Sure.
they feel like things are too good to be true. That's why we do shows like this, because I want people to reach out to Walt. I want you to get your knowledge, find out on your own. Because you're all asking me, and I'm like, well, I know and love a lot of people in the industry, but it still doesn't matter unless it's a good fit for you and you feel like it's a good fit for you. So one last question before we wrap up. First of all, the name of the company is Epic.
Yes. Yep. Epic
Realtor. IQUE. One last question before we wrap up. I like to ask a personal question, especially with veterans. When I say the word hero, who's the first person that comes to your mind?
Nurses and teachers.
Why?
Because they are serving people in ways that have ripple effects throughout our entire society, and nobody else sees it. Right? I hear "thank you for your service" every time I casually mention, "Oh yeah, I was in the Navy." Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Hey, listen, it was 21 years of my life. It affected me. It affected some other people. That's it. Go think a teacher.
Yeah.
That has generational ripple effects on the service they provide every single day for no recognition whatsoever.
None.
Right. That's a hero in my mind. So nurses and teachers are probably the first two. Right. Obviously, firefighters and policemen are serving their communities as well, and they don't have to go overseas to do it. But like really, the unsung, unrecognized heroes in any given community are the nurses and the teachers.
I love that. See, right on the spot. All right, Walt, what's the best way they can find you, reach you, learn more about you and Epic?
Oh, goodness. So walter.key@gmail.com. Go to Facebook and put in Walt Key. I think I might be the only real estate agent, one, named Walter, because it's an older name. But literally, my last name is Key. You'll find me. It's the best. I was born for this. It's the best name in real estate. Yeah, look me up on social. I'm big on Facebook. I'm not huge on other platforms. I have some Instagram and stuff, but my big platform for me is on Facebook. So if you go to Facebook and put in Walter Key or Walt Key Realtor, you're going to find me on either one of those.
I love it. Thank you so much for being on the show. What a joy, man. When I met you the first time, I was like, oh my God, this guy has the energy you want to be around. And I also love your humility and the way that you want to give back. You definitely have a servant's heart. So kudos to you for that. And thank you for that. You all reach out to Walt. He's just as amazing in person and when you talk to him one-on-one as he is here. Thank you, Walt. Thank you guys so much. We'll be back